All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We don't have as official of an agenda as normal, but we are going to go ahead and start with the prayer by Chris Bell, Pastor Chris Bell. I think he's here. Thank you. There you are, sir. Followed by the pledge.
Let's bow and pray together. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight here in this beautiful community that we all call home. We love it. We're grateful for it. I pray tonight that we'd be reminded that your word teaches us to honor one another. And Lord, even as we may disagree with one another, as we discuss, as we walk through difficult things, we are still called to honor one another. And I pray that we as a community will do that even tonight. We pray that your hand would remain on us, Lord, on our leaders to make great decisions. We need your wisdom. We need your, Lord, we need your help. So we ask you for it tonight. And we pray that you would continue to bless our community even as we walk forward into what you have for us in the future. Give us wisdom, give us help, and give us an incredible love and honor for one another tonight. It's in your great name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Bell. Appreciate you, sir. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give a quick overview of how we're going to flow tonight. I'm going to give some opening comments with a little bit of background, let the mayor and council members make comments if they would like. Then we're going to have a 5-minute presentation from the community group, 5-minute presentation from the Baldwin County Board of Education. We'll go over some just general housekeeping rules, and then we'll open it to public participation, which is the primary intent of this meeting. And then we'll wrap it up with some mayor and council comments if anybody has anything to close the meeting. We're shooting for maybe 7:30 wrap up, probably a hard stop at 8. We're going to try to get as many people in to speak as possible, but we also want to be respectful of everybody's time. So just some quick background. So how this kind of came about, as long as I can remember, as long as I've been here, the city school conversation has always kind of been in the background, and every 3 to 4 years it sort of resurfaces. Was approached by a community group that wanted to bring this conversation back up and had commissioned a study. The study indicated that the city could afford to split off and have a independent city school system without any kind of a tax increase. City decided to get its own study to kind of compare, and of course we got a study back that indicates that we would have to have a tax increase of some type to be able to afford to have an independent city school system. Discussed it, and I can only speak directly for myself. I think not all the council members may have even been on the council when this first came up, but was interested in putting this out for a referendum of the citizens to say, hey, this is your community. Y'all vote on whether you want an independent city school system or not. Under current state law, we learned that is not allowed. The only way to form an independent city school system is for the city council to vote on it. So we said, well, in that case, let's do a non-binding referendum and let the citizens vote on it. Found out that is not allowed because we can't expend any city resources or city funds to hold a non-binding referendum. That is how we got to where we are today, where we said, okay, we want to hear from the public. We know there's a group of community members that are interested in pursuing this. We don't know if it's a large group or a small group or a middle-sized group, and frankly, I think that putting it out there for feedback is probably the best way to go. So that's really what we're asking for. I've gotten text messages from friends saying, please vote yes, please vote no on this. There is no vote scheduled or contemplated right now. We are just soliciting feedback. Is this something the citizens want us to pursue, and trying to get a handle on whether that's something y'all want or something you don't want. I do think that there's pros and cons to both options. I think that anybody that would tell you that everything at the Baldwin County Board of Education is perfect would be inaccurate, or anyone saying that everything would be perfect under a city school system is probably inaccurate. I can speak for my family. We've been at Fairhope West, Fairhope Intermediate, Fairhope Middle School, Fairhope High School. I've got a senior in high school and one in college. We have had nothing but a fantastic experience the whole way. We've had great teachers, coaches, administrators, just a wonderful experience. My girls were prepared for college, prepared for life beyond. So nothing but good things to say about that. I also do think it's worthwhile to have this conversation every so often because things change, communities change, situations change. Even if we decide as a group that, hey, we're happy where we are today, who knows what 5, 10, 20 years down the road could be. So it doesn't hurt to have this conversation and revisit it from time to time. I just ask that everyone be respectful of your friends, your neighbors. I mean, a lot of good people on both sides with different points of view, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do want to thank Senator Elliott for being here. Appreciate it. He may choose to weigh in with some facts or just some comments from time to time, and also Commissioner Harris, thank you for being here. And did I miss any other elected officials hiding out there? Well, I know there's some overflow crowd out in the Civic Center, and I'll wrap up with some housekeeping rules before we open public participation. But first, I want to hear from the mayor and the council members if you have any comments. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Conyers. I just want to really thank everybody for being here tonight. Again, we are all part of one community. We are allowed to have various opinions and about how these meetings are taking place and even this topic, but really appreciate all of you engaging. We've heard from a lot of folks and know there's passion on both sides of this issue. I'm a product of Fairhope Public Schools. Most of my immediate and extended family are too. We have a long history here in Fairhope. And again, just like Councilman Conyers said, I think there's pros and cons on either side of this issue. It's important for us to have these hard conversations as elected leaders. It's what we're elected to do. So thank you for being engaged. Thank you for giving us your input. And again, I hope we can all be respectful and have some good dialogue tonight. Thank you.
City Clerk, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Councilman Burrell.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I have two children that went through the Fairhope Public School System, K through 12. I was a board member of FEE for, I think, 6 years, a president twice. So I've been in the schools a lot, and I love our school system. I'm glad to see that everybody is passionate about it. My mother was a high school teacher. My father was a high school coach. So I grew up in the schools, and, well, we couldn't get away with anything. They knew everything. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I'm here with an open mind. I want to listen to everybody's, arguments, and, I want to learn. I'm here to make an educated decision, and whatever that might be. So thank you all for coming out and being so passionate about our schools.
Thank you. This is great attendance. If we had this attendance at every council meeting, we'd have a parking deck here in no time. I promise you that. I echo what Councilman Conyers said. I think he framed it up very well. And anybody on either side that's come and talked to me about this, the focus has always been on the children. It hasn't been about taxes. It hasn't been about what the school condition or anything like that. It's all about what's the best thing for our children. So that's the number one thing that'll be on my mind as I listen to all the feedback. So thank you all for being here.
All right, Councilman Robinson.
Yeah, thank you. Thank everybody for being here. I'm very conscious of my grammar with so many educators in the room tonight. I don't want to let any of the sad Saraland slip out. I just look around the room and I see so many people that have either had an impact or are currently having a significant impact on my children. I've got 4, all currently in the Fairhope school system, from a senior all the way down to a kindergartner. You did hear that right. And so I am incredibly invested in making our schools the best they can possibly be, whatever that looks like. And so while I have had an unbelievable experience from west to east to the intermediate school to the middle school to the high school, I know that hasn't been the same for everybody. And so I don't believe in good enough. If there are ways to be better and to make it better, and to create better educational opportunities for our children, whether that's academically, athletically, or otherwise, I think we have a responsibility to consider that, which is exactly why we wanted these discussions to take place. But I think you also have to understand how great we have it currently, and I listened to people speak this morning from outside of Fairhope that have moved here recently, and they made the comment, it's not like this at every other public school, whether you're talking about Baldwin County, Alabama, or whether you go outside the state. And so in order to justify something like this, there has to be such strong support from the community in order to jeopardize what we currently have going in Fairhope. So I'm excited to hear everybody's opinions. I appreciate you being here, and I know that we're going to get some good information tonight.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilwoman Booth?
Well, I think everybody has pretty much spoken for myself, but I'm excited to see everybody here. I have an open mind. I have 4 generations from the Fairhope schools, and I had my 2 children graduate from Fairhope High School, went all through the schools. And I've been very pleased with our school, but I am open-minded, and I'm willing to listen and to learn and try to make this as easy on everyone as possible and listen to my citizens. Thank you.
All right. First up, we're going to have a 5-minute presentation. We're going to limit each side to 5 minutes, but I've got community group, and I'm sorry, I know there's a more official name, and no, there's not. Okay. We've got a community group. Whoever would like to speak and present for y'all, you got 5 minutes.
All right, make sure it's on. Hello, I know many of you, but if you don't, my name is Amy Thompson. I've lived in Fairhope for over 30 years, and I've had 3 children proudly in Fairhope schools over the years, one of them a graduate of the IB program, stellar program. First and foremost tonight, this is not a divorce. It's a natural progression. And our very state constitution calls for cities over the population of 5,000 to separate and form their own entity. This is not a new conversation, as you've heard, but one that's gone on for well over 25 years. The first push for separation ended in FIF. That was the evolution of FIF years ago, this wonderful educational foundation that we have the benefit of. A later initiative that I became involved with is the financial crisis of 2009, when the county had to let go hundreds of teachers in arts, Spanish language, foreign language, all kinds of programs, and we felt like Fairhope could better manage those challenges if we separated. At that time, the compromise ended in the formation of the Education Advisory Commission and the city's pledge of $350,000 a year among all 5 schools in the feeder pattern. So many in the school system, I wanted to let you know, many in the school system and leaders that are right here in this room have shared with us over the years they felt separation was inevitable. We were told for years that this was a risky scheme, that solving the challenges would just be too complicated with the feeder pattern, that it would cost too much, just too expensive, too complicated. So why now? Well, we wouldn't be the pioneers. Fairhope has an ideal model right down the road in Gulf Shores, now Orange Beach. We also have the financial security of the 3 mil overlay, which is generating over $4 million a year. Today, as you all know, by its nature, Fairhope has one voice on a board that's accountable to everything from Bay Minette to Alberta. So imagine a school board uniquely focused on our priorities, vested in our community, and a superintendent who walks the halls and knows the name of every one of you, teachers who are here. In a county system, by its very nature, and understandably and responsibly, they are beholden to all students, but equity to all those schools has not translated to excellence for Fairhope. I would say otherwise, to explain that, we have great schools, absolutely, but I believe it's the culture of excellence in Fairhope that has created that excellence that you see. It comes from a culture of excellence, from teachers that pay for supplies out of their own pocket, for our education foundation that has poured dollars into all kinds of programs and teacher grants, from parents that fundraise and have underwritten playgrounds, from FIF that underwrote the Black Box Theater that is primarily used now for school meetings and for not the robust theater program that we had at one time. Also, the Pelican's Nest, our award-winning science program. FIF not only created that, but saved it years ago when the county had plans to cut it for budget reasons, along with our award-winning teacher there. The city is also pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars a year into our schools for maintenance and for athletic facilities. So I ask this, We're already funding the excellence that we are so proud of. So why not community ownership of our schools as well? So as you've heard, over the last 2 years, we've worked collaboratively with the mayor and city council, looking for solutions and information. That's what all of this is about. Yes, many of us did fund the PARCA study, which you will see tonight, some comparisons. And PARCA had also worked with cities all around the state. They've done this. They know the numbers. We have also met for years with leaders from other cities and also other school systems, from Saraland and Madison City to Trussville to Gulf Shores, of course, and Arab most recently. We've talked extensively also even today with the school funding expert who actually wrote the code and a lot of the legislative rules that govern school funding today. So tonight we have lots to share, but time limitations, understandably. But we want to answer your questions and we want to dive in deeper with some key points. So of course, how do we fund a city system? You have 2 feasibility studies to understand, and they're complex, well done. So the cities found that we could fund the system on our existing base. Ours found a significant surplus, and we'll explain why. Now, you may hear tonight that Fairhope will want more, surely, and then that will mean more taxes. Well, ironically, that is the point. Our priorities we have, from athletics to expanded classrooms to other initiatives, new equipment, we would no longer be at the mercy of the county. We can vote to fund our own priorities with those taxes if we so desire. You may hear tonight that Fairhope will have enormous debt on the buildings, lose its share of the penny tax, and that we lose our portion of the county's reserve fund. That is not so. So next, important to ask, of course, how do we keep the feeder pattern? Well, I can tell you this, in all the years I've been involved with this conversation, which is well over 15 years, there has never been any mention of anything but a desire for a 3-6-5-3-2 school system. All 5 schools, we are one Fairhope, and our goal is making Fairhope City Schools available to all of those in this existing feeder pattern, and there are multiple solutions. Teacher conditions and growth policies. Stronger teacher benefits and salaries are a hallmark of city systems. With more flexibility on how they spend their dollars, they can decide whether to add teacher units or other programs or enrichment. And when it comes to growth, we all know Fairhope is having explosive growth. We can better manage it with decisions on our priorities, not what the county what the county needs. City schools mean innovation. City schools lead the state in much more than just test scores. Teachers dream it, and they do it. You'll hear tonight about programs that did not happen at Fairhope High for years because they could not be offered to the entire county. You may hear that we will lose our IB charter, access to the virtual school, and Baldwin Prep. Fairhope IB is ours, and we can create our own virtual program, as Gulf Shores did, and in-house career academies that reflect the community's priorities.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It was 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll wrap it up with that. That was my final point. We look forward to answering your questions. Grateful for all of you being here tonight.
Thank you, Amy. All right, Bowen County Board of Education, 5-minute presentation.
Thank you very much for having us here. First of all, I want to thank all the teachers that are here. I know this is very important to you, as it is to us. Just want to start out with just a couple of things, and I know numbers are always things that people look at. So I had Shane, our CFO, pull some numbers for us as far as capital improvement and other infrastructure things that we've done in the past 5 years for feeder pattern schools. And this hit every school in Fairhope. So in the last 5 years, we spent over $25 million in infrastructure buildings. That's not counting some stuff we did a few years before that. We also have a project plan that we've been working on lately athletically, because that seems to be a big part of some of this that we've been working on. It's an $8 to $10 million project, and we hope to get back to that very soon. And as far as growth, we are already actively looking for property now. We need a new elementary school here in Fairhope, and those right now, on the last one, if you've noticed, we opened 2 lately. They're $44 million each right now, and that is something we plan to add to Fairhope as soon as we can get that started. So That's just some numbers. On a personal note, I've been a citizen of Fairhope for over 30 years. I raised my family here, my children, my grandkids go here. I love Fairhope. It's a fantastic place. I've worked at Fairhope High School for 20 years. Loved my time there. But I got an opportunity down the road where I got to expand and move out, become a principal, assistant superintendent, and I got to see the county as a whole and to understand that there's other cultures and other cities and other students that are out there that have a uniqueness, and they bring a uniqueness to our Baldwin County public schools. It is our duty to provide the best opportunity for all students, for all communities. And that's why, as Baldwin County, we put so much resources into providing those things, from our curriculum department to our transportation department, our special ed department, our C&P department. There's so many wonderful things that we're able to provide every student, and that's not going to be possible when you decide that you want to do a single entity, not to the magnitude that we can provide those services. So I guess what I want to say, and I know a lot of y'all wearing this right now, we as a system owe it to our students and to our teachers and to our communities to work together to make sure that all students get those opportunities for a good future, and that we continue to work together because we are better together. Thank you.
My name is John Cardwell. I'm principal of Fairhope High School. A lot of talk about city systems and the excellence of city systems. Passed around a data sheet. If you'll look at that data sheet, you'll see a lot of city systems looking up at Fairhope High School as a proud county school. Our vision at Fairhope High School is to provide hope and opportunity. This plan, or lack of a plan, is built on hope. It's ironic. We hope that we have enough money. We hope the PARCA plan's right. We hope that the millage passed. We don't operate on hope at Fairhope High School. We provide hope. The PARCA study, we keep hearing a lot about the PARCA study, and I'm sure it'll be talked about. Laura's got some things to say tonight. The first study that came out in January 25 had a $5 million surplus. Ironically, the one posted on the city page had an $8 million surplus. So right off the bat, it's a flawed study. So the criterion study is more, to me, when you look at it, it takes in pooled expenses, does a better job of that. I urge you to dive deep into that. I want to end with this. This is, Fairhope High School is my heart. And that heart is Newton, that heart is Fairhope Falls, that heart is Echo Rouge, that heart is downtown Fairhope. Separating this system, and I know we're going to let everybody come. It's impossible. Annexing is not a phone call. So you're going to hear that we're going to let everybody come. It's just not true. And that's my fear. If you can make that happen, we'll talk. But if you can't do that, I can't talk. This is too big a gamble with all of our students' lives and tearing families apart for us to take a chance on maybe this will work. Fairhope High School doesn't deal in maybes.
Time's up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Just a few housekeeping rules for everyone. First of all, I anticipate a lot of questions that we are not going to have answers to, that at this time we will not have contemplated. Again, the purpose of this meeting and the next two meetings is primarily just to hear feedback from the citizens. Is this something y'all want to pursue? Certainly happy to take questions, but we may not have answers, so just know that. When you come up to the microphone, you need to give your name and address to the city clerk. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. And if you have more than just a comment, if you have questions of either the community group or the Baldwin County Board of Education or the City Council, we will do our best to answer them, but we're going to try to limit those responses to one person per group responding. We don't have time, for the sake of trying to get as many people an opportunity to speak. We don't need to hear from all 3 or 4 individuals on their opinions. So just to the groups, y'all can kind of police that yourselves. City clerk's going to be policing the time, and We will again wrap up with mayor and council comments, but for right now, the floor is open for public participation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Laura Smith, and I live in Idlewild subdivision. Is it,
I guess,
Can you-
we can hear you, but is the
I don't know if
microphone
the-
turned on? Or maybe,
I don't know, is it?
is there a green light?
Is it on now? Is it on,
Yes.
okay,
You might just need to stand a little closer to it.
Yeah, there we go.
thank you, thank you. So, my name is Laura Smith, and I graduated from Fairhope High School in 2006 as valedictorian. I'm currently the IB English teacher. So I feel as an employee in Fairhope Schools that we currently have the best of both worlds, that we have the economy of scale and the support of Baldwin County that keeps our costs low, but we also have the control of 3 mil money and FIF that allows us local control about specialized programs and funding. With this, we've had great success. Our academic rankings have actually climbed since the 3 mil tax increase was passed. And on our most recent state report card, in academic achievement, which is the category I'm most interested in, Fairhope was 3rd in the state. Gulf Shores was a full 18.21 points behind Fairhope on that metric. I'm not looking to Gulf Shores as our model, respectfully. Now, I do want to point out there were 2 city school systems that scored higher than us in academic achievement, Mountain Brook and Vestavia. But while we pay a direct property millage rate of 6% in Fairhope that directly funds Fairhope schools and is not pulled with the county, in Vestavia, that number is 43.85%. I think we have to understand that if we actually want to talk about funding city schools. I looked deeply at both the Parka study and the Criterion study, and I think they both do a good job of estimating revenues and debt. However, neither of those studies does a thorough job of estimating cost, which matters if we want to balance a budget. Neither of the studies started by saying, what resources do we have now and what do those cost? Instead, they started by saying, what amount of money does Gulf Shores spend, without considering, well, they don't have an IB program. The Parka study actually defines pooled expenses in its lexicon, but it didn't include any at all in its cost estimates. And pooled expenses are things like electricity, the AP program, the IB program, internet, water, educational software licenses like IXL, Savvis, Delta Math, Newsella, Lightspeed, Albert, Power School, Magic School, Elevation, Frontline, Parent Square, Schoology, and Cognity, which are things we use every day. None of them are in the cost estimates. So when this says that it has a surplus, that's because it's not accounting for everything that we have now. I don't know how we could replicate what we have now without the economy of scale in Baldwin County that keeps costs low per pupil. You divide a $20,000 Freon repair across 31,000 kids, they're not paying as much per kid as they are if we divide it over our 2,800 feeder pattern. And that's before you get into the cuts to teacher units with cutting 45% of the students. Neither of these studies included the IB program at all, which is hugely expensive to maintain, with 14 teachers trained to create an alternate schedule for high-achieving students. Just frankly, this flyer puts us millions of dollars off, and Criterion tries to be more thorough but made errors. If Fairhope breaks away, we will be left with bad options: cut programs, raise taxes substantially, or both.
Time's up.
All right,
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bethany Pierce. I live at 108 Vivian Loop. I just wanted to start with a question. Do y'all enjoy music, art, fashion? Do y'all have a financial advisor? Do you love a home-cooked meal? Or do you own a business? Those are all careers that fall under departments that Fairhope High School gives students an opportunity to attend classes for. Fairhope High School, every single year, a list of electives are given to students that they can choose from that suit their interest or what they might do for a career path. Students pick things based on the passions that they have, the purpose that they find in life. They find friends through these departments. They get accepted into colleges and get scholarships through these departments. And pulling away from the county puts all of these departments at risk. Personally, I'm a part of the dance collective at Fairhope High School, and I get to spend 2 periods of my day at dance, learning from agriculture to band to piano to dance to our business and finance classes to our fashion design classes that I mentioned earlier. And I think that all aspects of this should be considered because all students are involved in that and not just the athletics that y'all are wanting to highlight and improve. I think it's a great thing to do because I love attending a good football game. I love when the Fairhope Pirates win, but I also think it's important to consider all the students, not necessarily academically, but also in the departments where they are looking for their careers and their futures. And so I do have one question. It doesn't necessarily have to be answered, but it's mainly specifically for Mr. Cardwell is, like, how many of these elective teachers are at risk because of this budget? Or you can answer either or. What benefits have you seen, like, from these departments specifically regarding, like, the students and where they've gone?
The benefits are you standing right there confidently. Just to highlight, as the principal of Fairhope High School, the state foundation units are based on student population. And if you limit our student population to, the study said 844, that is 56 teachers provided by the state. That's removing all locally funded units. Currently at Fairhope High School, we have 100 teachers, not counting paraprofessionals and other professionals running around, speech pathologists. We don't count that. We're talking just teachers. So I'm able to offer dance, piano 1, 2, 3, 4, choir, a new men's choir, everything else that we have. And so there would be drastic cuts. It would be from 100 to 56 teachers. As the fiscal leader of that school and having to keep up academics, we all know where those cuts start. It's been the fear. It was, as they mentioned, in 2009 when I was at Alberta High School. I had to fire 7 teachers. 2 of those were arts. So it happens. It's sad reality. So that is one reason I'm so passionate against this, because I would lose what makes our culture. And Bethany, thank you.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you? My name is Corey Young, and I live at 111 Kiefer Avenue, right around the corner. I'm going to make a quick statement, and then I'm going to ask a question. So I'm here as a parent who sent 2 daughters through the Fairhope K-12, and also as the former executive director of the Fairhope Educational Enrichment Foundation. The first job I still have, the second one I held for about 5 years. As such, I see friends and acquaintances here on both sides, lots of teachers, lots of other parents. I was in school, our kids were in school with their kids. So, you know, we want to keep all of this very friendly. So during my time with FIF, I listened to principals and teachers and parents express their needs and desires for the Fairhope schools, as we work together to raise money so that all the children in the Fairhope feeder pattern could have access to an excellent education. Among others, FIF helped start or enhance science programs, IB, AP, art, summer tutoring, music programs, engineering, theater, and consumer science. And I know that we all agreed with the adage, a rising tide floats all boats. In September 2019, more than half of Fairhope voters who went to the polls supported instituting a 3-meal tax for 30 years. An independent local commission works with our school personnel to determine how the money should be spent on academics. So in essence, that's a local control. With its ability to spread taxation across the entire Fairhope feeder pattern, I have always felt the 3-meal tax was the best compromise between those who wanted to split and those who wanted to stay with the Baldwin County Board of Education. And if our goal is excellence, I'm going to follow up on what Laura had to say here for a moment, the tax is working. I spent the morning, and this was not how I planned to spend my day, doing the tedious job of sorting Alabama State Department of Education spreadsheets for Fairhope High School rankings. Following the vote for the tax, we immediately had COVID, for which the state has or has not released any public data. But beginning with the 2021-2022 school year, Fairhope High School ranked 25th in the state for the metric All Students Academic Achievement. The following year, that number jumped to 6, remained approximately steady at number 8 for 2023-2024, and as Laura mentioned, jumped all the way to number 3 in 2024-2025. Again, that's from 25 to 3 in 4 years. My ask of you tonight is to stay the course and continue to allow that tax to do its job, funding teachers and programs so that all children in our area benefit. So, can I ask a question?
Of course.
What will happen to the tax for outside the Fairhope city limits if we separate?
Does anyone? Oh, yes. ma'am. I'll permit that if you.
We'll get back to you, girl.
So yeah, the 3 meal tax is, as you know, based on the residents within the feeder pattern, and the ones outside of that feeder pattern, it would go away.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Maddie Hammond Waycaster, and I live at 470 Bartlett Avenue. For those who don't know me, I'm a junior at Fairhope High School. I'm here tonight because the decision you're considering isn't abstract to me. It's personal, and it affects students like me right now. I understand why the idea of Fairhope City school systems is appealing. More local control, better facilities, and more say in how money is spent all sound like good things. And I don't doubt that Fairhope is capable of building a good school system. But before the city decides this idea should move forward, I think it's important to be honest about what students already have. When I started 9th grade, I thought volleyball would define my high school experience. I had played competitively for years and played for Fairhope freshman and sophomore years. Then I was diagnosed with a heart condition. And eventually I made the decision to step away from school volleyball. That was much bigger of a change for me simply than just stepping away from a sport. It had a huge part of my life till then. By then, Fairhope had already helped me discover that there was more to me than that. Today, I'm vice president of FBLA and president of Club America. I also have been enrolled in the CTE marketing lab and am very proud to get these opportunities. I didn't walk into 9th grade knowing any of that would be a part of my future. Fairhope helped me find it. That is why I think adults considering this need to ask what educational problem they're actually trying to solve. Fairhope High earned 92 on its most recent report card. Students already have access to AP, IB, CTE, dual enrollment, specialized programs, and partnerships that have come from being a part of a much larger school system. Could Fairhope recreate those opportunities? Probably. But right now, they already exist. And when you are talking about a student's education, there is a big difference between what exists today and what adults hope they can rebuild later. The city's own study also shows that only about 55% of students in the current feeder pattern live inside city limits. The others are not numbered on a page. They are classmates, teammates, and friends. They're pirates too. A line on a map does not change that. I'll graduate before the 5-year transition would ever affect me. That is exactly why I'm speaking. I already had these opportunities, and students coming behind me deserve them too. So study the taxes, study the facilities, study the local control, decide whether Fairhope can do this. But before you decide whether it should, please answer the question that matters most. What will students gain? What is worth risking? What they already have? Because the ability to build something new is not proof that it will be better, and the next generation of Fairhope students should not have to be the experiment that proves whether it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tough act to follow. David Johnson. Don't really need a microphone. My address is 16311 Woodacres Road South. I live outside the city. I'm a community physician, have been for 11 years. Ever since I got out of residency training, came right here because God put me right here, and I've been excited about it. I have 4 boys that go to our little country school called J. Larry Newton. 99 rated J. Larry Newton. Fairhope West nipping at the hills 99, okay? So, when I hear these things about the zones and who's getting in and who's not, I think of Riley Leonard. We all know that guy, right? I guess the way it would be created, he probably would have been the high school quarterback for Foley, right? Riley Leonard did not have an athletic facility problem, He did not have an athletic problem. So I think some of the people concerned about the facilities probably maybe have an athletic problem. I don't know. That did not keep him from going to the far reaches, correct? So I have 2 questions. First of which, Mr. Burrell. So Fairhope is very intelligent. I think we all figure out there's going to be a millage increase at some point. If you decide to go to city schools, and let's say it does not get passed through, is the city prepared to pick up that tab and cover it? And then, second question for Ms. Mackey. Out of this group, currently sitting here, we've got students that are vested. How many of y'all currently have students in the system? And then, I guess, second part, when we say group, I hear little group, I hear big group. Like, what's the rough estimate of people that contributed or that's got the interest?
At all of us, but are you
Okay.
asking me to respond?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let him go first. I'm done.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I'm being picked on, but I will say this, and once again, I'm trying to remain very open-minded. The fact is there's there's quite a lot of mechanisms by which people outside of the city limits would attend the Fairhope feeder pattern. And first of all, I don't think that Foley would be able to accommodate all the students that would have to go to Foley. And there would be some kind of agreement between the county school system and Fairhope. I'm just being honest. But there's a multitude of ways that they would be included. And we've talked about those issues for years and years. So it's not really fair to say, in my opinion, that Riley Green wouldn't have been in the Fairhope feeder pattern. Riley Green? Or him? Or Riley Leonard, I'm sorry. Riley Green. Riley Leonard. So I think that if there was to be a separation, those issues would be solved. There's a lot of different ways. You could charge the property tax for what the value of their home is. You could negotiate with the county to say, look, you don't have enough facilities in these other schools. You're going to pay us for these kids to go. There's a lot of different ways. You could talk about this for hours and hours. So I'm just being honest, okay? He asked me the question, put me on the spot, and that's my opinion.
Can we, excuse me, can we have an opportunity to respond to that? Because it's a huge
Yes.
amount of the research we've done. And to your point in questioning us about are we valid because we don't have children currently in the system, I'd just like to say this conversation and the concern has gone on, as I said, for 25 years. I've been involved for at least 15 years of that. My first meeting that I attended to talk about city school potential, I brought my son who was in a stroller. I dropped him off at college last week. So we've all been thoroughly vested, and Rose was one of his teachers. I love these teachers in this room. Many of you have taught my children. I love Fairhope schools. It's about what can be. I hope you don't think that we don't have a valid voice or should be disregarded because I don't have children currently in the system. I'm hoping that you would respect our involvement. None of us have any gain here. We've put an enormous amount of time and energy and good faith to research this. We're parents, we're volunteers, business owners, and there are dozens of other people that are supporting this and have also helped to pay for the study. And over the years, there have been hundreds. And if you'd like to ask me later, I'd love to share some names with you. So thank you for asking. There are about 5 others that maybe 10 others that have been actively in meetings here and there. Some are in this room, but.
And significantly more who have contributed to the conversation.
Yeah, there was just a question. I'm just trying to answer it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Floor is open.
I'm hovering. My name is Rose Wiles. I'm a Fairhope Schools parent. I'm also an educator in my 21st year in education, 14 years in Fairhope, and now I'm out behind Bucky's at Rosington. Go Rascals. On the Hope for Fairhope City Schools Facebook page, I found a flyer outlining the benefits of a split from Baldwin County. It states, open to all through the CHOOSE Act. The CHOOSE Act offers up to $7,000 deposited in an education savings account for parents whose children attend a private or out-of-district school. The suggestion is that Fairhope families who live outside the city of Fairhope will pay tuition using these funds. On the surface, this appears to be acceptable. Here's the Act. Page 10 reads that the CHOOSE Act schools agree not to discriminate based on the grounds of race, color, or national origin in the provision of its services. And that's it. Race, color, and nationality. Not faith, gender, disability, health, wealth, grades, past trauma, athletic ability. I could go on. This raises a crucial question. Will all students in our community be able to attend Fairhope City Schools? I found clarity on page 13, where it states, schools shall be given maximum flexibility, not some, maximum, to accommodate participating students and may create a process for accepting, selecting, or limiting the number of allowable participating students who are not assigned to that public school. The next section goes further. No provision of this act shall be construed to require any public school to enroll any student. Now, I'm not a lawyer and I am definitely not a politician, but that seems crystal clear to me. The schools can offer or not offer any spots to out-of-district students, and even if places are available, they are given complete freedom to not take a student. So let me camp out on that for just a second. Our public schools serving our community are given complete autonomy to deny a student enrollment. You might ask, why would they do that? They're missing out on all that money. Well, here's the thing. Some of our students cost a lot. Oh, I've lost my place. Our students with complicated and severe health conditions, learning disabilities, and emotional disturbances, they have complex and expensive needs. They need nurses, resource teachers, social workers, counsellors, the list goes on. And the city schools can opt out of that student. They can say, no thanks to your child with a debilitating disease. They can say no to your neighbour's kid who has an IEP, or your friend's grandbaby who went through a traumatic experience and doesn't trust adults. Right now, your children, our children, are guaranteed a free and appropriate public education right here in Fairhope, the community they live in. I don't think it's worth risking that.
My name is Tom Garney. I live with my wife in the Quail Creek subdivision. Been here about 5 years. We came from Texas. I'd like to speak on behalf of the senior citizens in this community who live on fixed incomes. And I want to thank you for your honesty and candor in admitting that, yes, you will have to have a school tax to make this work. Quite honestly, we can't afford it. We cannot pay you any more taxes. We're doing good to pay light bill, groceries, and utilities. And the people, the senior citizens of this community, do not have the money to pay for this. So don't look for us when you come asking for a school tax. We can't do it. Now, there's already been good speakers explaining that the projected cost of this plan is not accurate. And I think they are right, but for a different reason. Over the next 10 to 20 years, education is going to go through significant changes. Rapidly advancing technology is going to see to that, and these young teachers here, they're feeling it. They feel the apps and the things they have to buy to make their classroom functional. It's only going to get worse, and as it gets worse, it gets more expensive. So I ask you, I speak against this proposal. Do not put this burden on the citizens of Fairhope and the surrounding area. Thank you very much.
Evening.
My name is Catherine Duro, and I live at 705 Washington Drive. I'm the parent of a freshman on the IB track at Fairhope High School. I'm deeply concerned about Fairhope's feasibility studies, that they don't include funding for our IB program or all of our current 21 AP course offerings. Right now, we have IB grads attending Stanford on a full ride, 2 at Dartmouth on a full ride, Johns Hopkins, and a couple at Georgia Tech. Another is attending Washington and Lee as a Johnson Scholar, and this past May, another graduated from Yale. Our IB grads have received over $55 million in scholarship offers. The truth is, if we broke away from Baldwin County, we would struggle to fund those programs. The Parkas study claims that Fairhope would be able to spend more per student than BCBE, but its own calculations disagree with that conclusion. When you dive into Parkas numbers, you can see that we would actually have a smaller per student budget. It also fails to account for pooled costs, ignores the lower rates the county pays for materials because of its size, and grossly miscalculates inflation. These errors mean that the study's conclusions are off by millions of dollars. Criterion tries to be more thorough, but even though it projects raising taxes by a minimum of 5 mils, it also fails to account for Baldwin County's economy of scale and falsely assumes that Gulf Shores incurs similar costs per student as Fairhope. It does not. Again, its conclusions are off by millions of dollars. As a number of people have said tonight, to run our schools at their current levels, it would require a substantial tax hike for Fairhope residents. In this economy, when everything is already so expensive and families are having to watch their budgets so closely, proposing that we raise taxes to break away from a high-performing school system is a terrible idea. Our students benefit from having access to the IB program. Our students benefit from our wide variety of AP offerings. Our schools are some of the greatest assets in our community. Please do not break something that's already working. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Gustavo Duay, Idlewild Subdivision. I've heard ad nauseum the argument that under a city district, we would be able to control our own school board. So my question is simple. How much is control worth? The Parka study claims that we could split off from the county and not raise taxes. Sure, we could, but we would lose tons of academic programs that have kept Fairhope near the top of the state in academic achievement. Their Criterion study says we need to raise taxes by at least 5 mils. This is also inaccurate. The Parka study completely left out pool expenses, and the Criterion study didn't accurately take into account the number of support staff we would need, among other expenses. In order to keep what we have, we would likely need to raise taxes by 15 mils or more. So I ask again, how much is control worth? Is it worth a tax hike of 15 mils? That is not a far-fetched number. I pulled the millage rates for all state schools for the from the Alabama Department of Education website, and it shows that Fairhope has a total millage of 15. The only 2 schools in the entire state that are ranked higher than Fairhope in the state's report card for academic achievement, I have it right here, Vestavia and Mountain Brook, have millage rates of 49 and 46 respectively. And I'll point out that neither of them has an IB program, even with millage rates 3 times as ours. Neither is Gulf Shores or Saraland, by the way. I'll also point out that Fairhope beat all of the schools in ELA achievement, ranking us number 1 in the state, no doubt because my wife is an English teacher there. So how much is that control worth? Is it worth doubling or tripling our millage to get fewer academic programs? And also, I want to take a note about control. Has anyone ever tried to get a hold of Cecil Christenberry? And I am genuinely asking, have you? Because he's very approachable. A few months ago, I emailed him with a question, and he replied with his personal cell phone number. And when I called him, we talked for 45 minutes. And ever since, he has texted me every single time the issue that I brought up gets discussed without me having to ask him. And I am so sorry for telling everybody here that if they email you, you're going to send them your cell phone number. But that's the kind of person that he is. So the point remains that the school board is not only easy to reach, but they're more than willing to work with parents, answer questions, and go above and beyond. So this idea of control is nonsensical. We have control already. You just need to be willing to engage with the board and get involved in your child's education. Y'all, what are we doing here? We stand to lose so much and gain so little. I beg of you, council members, shut this down. And I ask those of you here or watching at home, dig into these numbers yourself. It doesn't take a math genius to see that if we split off, in order to keep what we already have, we would be at a budget shortfall of millions of dollars. We are better together. Let's put this to rest. Thank you. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I would like to ask you all a question, if you don't mind, real fast. So according to your study, we would be able to keep our what we have without raising taxes. Is that correct? I mean, that's at least what I saw from the Parka study. Mm-hmm. So my question is, if you are incorrect about that assessment, are you, the 4 of you sitting right here, willing to pick up the tab and pay those extra taxes so that the rest of us don't have to?
I'm not sure that's a serious question.
No, it is a serious question. I don't want to pay more.
Okay, but I appreciate your input, I really do. But I think what's also not been factored in to either one of these studies with assurance, which should be known, and I would recommend, I hope to talk to the council and Sherry later, but the assurance that it is very unconstitutional and should be legally challenged the way Baldwin County is hanging on to the demand that we repay the debt on buildings that do not have debt. Also, they're hanging on to the penny that is due us. Also, the reserve money, they have an enormous amount of reserves, and we are due a portion of that. Those are millions and millions of dollars that were not assuredly factored into either study because it was considered a question mark. But I can tell you legally, I've had assurance even today from some of the highest authorities that deal with this, that Baldwin County is threatening to keep money that is due the city of Fairhope. And those would be change makers for either study. So there's more to the conversation.
Okay, so that's a no then. Thank you.
Can I follow up on this, Lisa?
Yeah, Carlton, come on. Yeah.
I also wanted to add in, I'm a little disappointed when you, Gustavo, Laura, said you've done deep dive research into the study. We have intentionally not released the entire study. We've shared it with the city council and mayor, but it's a very complicated study. So for you to say that you've done a deep dive, that's impossible unless somehow you've obtained a copy of the survey or the study. We put the 2-page summary available to give you highlights of the study. We'll be happy to walk you through it. Basically, what's happening though, and I was going to talk about this later, but I could talk about it now. So the numbers that we used in the study, we got that from John Cardwell, John Wilson, and John Gray 2 years ago when we started our study. And we used their numbers and took it to PARCA, Public Affairs Research Council of Alabama. This is the same entity that Amy referred to that's done city school studies for multiple other programs. And they are the ones who helped distill the numbers down. So as a matter of fact, if you look at the numbers, I can show you, Gustavo, if you want to walk through this, I'll show you how we come up to the surplus. I'll also go ahead and address John Cardwell right now. When you say there's a 5 million, there's a 8 million, it's incredible, like discrediting the study. What you don't know is you have a flexibility with your central office, okay? That was not accounted for. So we have that surplus. We went back to Chad Green at Gulf Shores, who's the CFO for Gulf Shores City School, said, Chad, give us some insight on what a first-year central office is going to look like. And he said, you know, for us, it was about $2.5–3 million a few years ago. So that's where we came up with that $3 million for central office, bringing the 8 down to $5 million. So yes, we feel very confident that we can provide today's services that you're currently getting at your Fairhope schools, and we're going to have a surplus of money. So if you want to have your money with somebody else outside the county, you want to compete for resources, you know, that's what you're choosing to do. But if you want to keep it in the community, you know, with people that you know, people you're going to school with, people you're going to church with, these are the people that are going to look out for your interests.
Mr. Wiles, can you excuse me for a second? Mr. Wiles, 1 second. Carlton, we didn't give you the figures. We found out the PARCA study, and then John Wilson poked holes in it. So you did not get
study yet, John.
You didn't get figures from John Cardwell because I don't have access to county figures. So
Presentation you gave at the
All right,
Education Commission.
time out.
That's
We're
it.
not doing the back and forth between the groups like this. Where's the gentleman that was up to speak? All right, come on back up. And let's, look, I know there's a lot of passion on both sides of this, and there's a lot of wonderful people on both sides of this. Let's just continue to keep it respectful, above board. Gentlemen, you got the floor.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Cooper Wiles. I live at 21307 Rolling Oaks Drive. I don't have very much to say here. It's just I heard this word thrown around a lot, like local and in the community. But Baldwin County is
Can you
our
get a little
community.
closer to the microphone?
Sorry, but Baldwin County is our community. It's the people who we know, and I know people out of our city, so that's why I like to say Baldwin County is our community. They're not outsiders. Yeah, thank you.
You've already spoke.
Am I allowed to speak a second time?
No.
Okay. I will say, I have some data that they critiqued my analysis, and I have more. Okay.
Keep it flowing.
Hi, y'all. Great to see so many people out here. Dev Wakely, live on Lakeview Drive. In the city limits, my kids are in Fairhope schools. They're exactly the kids that you want. I want to talk about a couple of aspects of this. I want to talk about the technical aspects of this issue, and I want to talk about the personal as well, if I can get to both. A lot of my kids' friends in the gifted program over at East, the two who were old enough to be assessed are in there and got snapped up real quickly, are not in city limits and would face either tuition charges to go to public schools or other issues that could keep the exact students who have made Fairhope such a shining example of education out. I would hate to see that. Every parent I've talked to who has kids in the Fairhope City Schools is against this. All of us. On a legal analysis framework, great organization. This is not a normal Parker report. It lacks the rigor, it lacks the comprehensive discussion of externalities that normally come with a Parker report. I want to see all that. I think that's clearly relevant to the decision-making process here. To state that that is lacking and therefore and therefore we should simply trust the figures is a problem. Major problem for me. I want to see that full 50-page report released. I think not releasing it would be a shocking angle to take when you're talking about a real data-based issue here. And I want to remind y'all, fundamentally here, I don't litigate. We will get sued over this. The city will be sued if we try to split off and cover anything that is not the full feeder pattern. And I think we all know that. We talk about Gulf Shores, we talk about Orange Beach, but additionally instructive is the Gardendale split in Jefferson County a few years back. I was interning at the Northern District of Alabama around the time that went through, and it was a train wreck. That community got dragged through the mud, and its reputation suffered drastically. One thing that I want to have happen is for that Parker report to discuss the externalities of reputation loss and consequent tax revenue loss from tourism in Fairhope. There's a lot going on here that we do need to consider. I want to consider the well-being of all those kids outside city limits. It makes very little sense to potentially ship Fairhope's next 36 ACT 20 miles away to Foley or Daphne. And a 40-mile round trip is going to occur.
Thank you.
So thank you all very much.
Good evening.
My name is Brent Wiles. I live at 21307 Rolling Oaks Drive in Fairhope, Alabama. Fairhope High School class of 2000 and very proud father of a Fairhope student. Something I keep hearing about both in this room and in social media is, again, this idea of local control as a reason to support a city school system. And I'm honestly not sure what we're trying to control or why. The city schools would be part of the Alabama public school system and subject to all the rules, regulations, curriculum requirements, and everything else from the State Board of Education. And our current schools are amazing. I can't help but agree with something else I've seen on Facebook, and that is, if it's not broke, why are we trying to break it? I love the fact that Fairhope schools are top performing schools with a broad socioeconomic student base. Our high school offers IB and AP classes, incredible athletic resources, and everything else in between, as our students have just discussed, to kids in trailer parks and kids on the bay. And in my opinion, that's brilliant. Rising tides raise all boats. I'm not interested in our schools becoming private by city limits. However, one aspect of local control that does come to my mind and is a concern that I have shared has been the speed of our community's growth and the impact that has had on our school system. I strongly believe one of the primary reasons families move to and remain in our community is our outstanding school system. This has been the case for decades. It's why my parents moved here in 1993. And then after a short hiatus in Michigan, came running back in 1996 for me to start high school. This growth has kept our community and our economy vibrant and thriving. It's how a small Alabama town had resources to maintain and develop a gorgeous downtown when others lost theirs to strip malls outside of at the highway. I've never really understood, though, why the city, specifically the Planning Commission and the council, does not work more closely with the county school district to moderate growth and allow the school system that gives so much back to our community the opportunity to plan and prepare better for that growth. The city of Fairhope has planning jurisdiction over county land as well as the city limits, outside or adjacent to the city limits. And the city council typically follows the recommendations of the Planning Commission. However, a couple of years ago, when my wife and I mentioned the potential impact to the schools of an almost 200-unit development with 3 bedrooms each and 16 acres, we were told by the Planning Commission that was outside of their remit. Today I checked. According to the city zoning ordinance, the Planning Commission is to review and make recommendations on zoning amendments for compliance with the comprehensive plan, and then to get down to the bottom, to facilitate the adequate provision of transportation, water, sewerage, schools, parks, and other public facilities. So I would just say real quick, my question is up. I'll ask as a question. Rather than fracture from the Baldwin County community, I ask the city council if we would consider adding the impact of growth to our school system to the Planning Commission's remit. Can we consider using the resources we already have at our disposal to continue to support our students, our teachers, and our community and keep our growth sustainable? Go Pirates and Baldwin proud.
My name's Brianna Vivar. I live at 21802 Yosemite Boulevard. So my name's Brianna Vivar, and I'm both a parent and an educator invested in the Fairhope community. I'm the mother of 2 children who attend school within the Fairhope feeder pattern, and I'm also a teacher who has proudly called J. Larry Newton Elementary home for the past 7 years. My children currently attend J. Larry Newton with me through a zone variance because I work there. But if they did not attend J. Larry Newton, they would attend Fairhope East Elementary. I'm deeply committed to the students, families, and schools that make up the Fairhope community. I've heard a lot that we want to keep Fairhope funds with Fairhope schools. Well, I'm here to explain that we don't always use just Fairhope resources. Throughout my years in education, I have had the privilege of teaching students with a wide variety of strengths, needs, and abilities. I have worked with students who receive special education services as well as students who receive English as a second language support. One thing I have seen firsthand is the way Baldwin County Public School utilizes its resources to meet the needs of students across the entire county. Those resources do not always come directly from a teacher stationed full-time at a student-based school, at our Fairhope schools. There have been times when specialized teachers have been assigned as part-time units and shared among multiple schools. This means we are currently using resources and teachers from Magnolia, Silver Hill, and more. This type of staffing model allows the district to respond to the actual needs of students rather than simply placing more students into already large groups. That flexibility is a tremendous benefit to all of our children. Instead of expecting one student to absorb additional students and services regardless of its individual needs, Baldwin County Public Schools has the ability to move resources where they are needed most. Teachers can travel between schools, specialized services can be shared, and staffing can be adjusted based on student needs. As an educator, I've seen the value of the system firsthand. One of my concerns is that transitioning to a city school system would mean losing that flexibility and access to shared resources. What works well for one school may not be enough to meet the needs of another, and the ability to share specialized staff across a larger system is an important resource that should not be overlooked. It would also mean losing access to the state-of-the-art Baldwin Prep. I believe deeply in Fairhope and in providing our students with the very best education possible. As a parent, I want my children to have access to every resource they need and to every opportunity they want. And as a teacher, I want my students to have the same thing. And right now, within the Fairhope feeder pattern, as it is within the Baldwin County Public School System, they do. On a personal level, my husband and I were both born and raised in Baldwin County. After getting married, we bought a home in Loxley and ultimately sold it and rented a home while we prayed and carefully considered where we wanted to put roots down. We considered our beach town neighbors and their city school systems, and ultimately we chose Fairhope. Not simply because we loved the community, but because we believed in the public school system and the quality of education our children would receive here. Every school in our Fairhope feeder pattern currently has an A ranking. Those accomplishments do not happen by accident. As a parent, I'm proud that we made the decision to call Fairhope home, and as an educator, I'm proud to be part of the system that has helped make these schools successful. Simply put, there's nothing broken here. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. Our schools are thriving, our students are succeeding, our teachers are serving communities, and families like mine are intentionally choosing Fairhope because of the quality of education our children receive.
evening.
Thank y'all for having this meeting. I appreciate
sir.
it very much, as everyone else does. My name is Vince Booth. I'm a lifelong Fairhopian. I'm proud of that. Almost 70 years in the books.
Got to give your address.
Oh, 6541 Beaver Creek Drive. My parents in the 40s, my brothers, me, my 3 children.
Can
So
you,
far,
can you get closer?
yeah, so far, 5 of my 7 grandchildren have gone through the Fairhope school system. My father-in-law, that the football field is named after, was a coach, administrator. He was the principal at the first middle school here in Fairhope. My mother-in-law was a teacher in this system for years. I was on the school board in the late 80s and early 90s. One thing I did while I was on the school board, and I lost that vote 6-1, I voted no on a 1-cent sales tax. Then my job was to go to the county commission next day and get them to put it on a ballot like they said they would, and they did, and it passed. But I voted no when it was time to vote on that again. I voted no when the 30-year tax came up. So why would I vote no if I'm so for the school system? We never talked about lowering overhead. We talked about increasing spending, but we never talked about budget of lowering the overhead. Our schools are good. They're very near the top in the state of Alabama. We're somewhere in the 40s in the country. We're not in the top 10 in the country. We're way down there. So good is not good enough. We can do better. Overhead. Marty, you might have noticed, as soon as you got the job, I said, congrats, Marty, on Facebook, because I know you, respect you, think you'll do a great job. So I'm fixing to say something about superintendent salaries. It's not pointed at you. We paid Eddie Tyler $314,000 plus benefits. Just look at a few numbers. The mayor of New York gets $258,000. Chuck Schumer, y'all might have heard of him, been in Congress for 30-something years, gets $193,000. Gavin Newsom gets $245,000 to run the worst state in the country, financially speaking. $174,000 U.S. House of Representatives. Chris Elliott's here tonight. He's making $62,212. And we're paying our superintendent $315,000, or our former superintendent. Marty, I didn't look up your salary, don't know. We're paying our former superintendent. So let's dive into all the numbers. Because these 2 studies compared current spending. The spending doesn't have to be at the level that's been allowed to be at the Baldwin County Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Anna Hardy, and I live on Danny Road, outside of the city limits. I have a daughter who is a junior at Fairhope High School. I have taught most, if not all, of your children at Fairhope High School. I have taught or worked in that high school since I was 22 years old. My first class that I taught celebrate their 40th birthday this year.
Well, you don't look like it.
That's because I get Botox.
Oh, my gosh. I love your hair, too.
I would like to say that I taught English for 20 years. I taught essentials. I taught regular. I taught honors when that was still a thing. I taught AP. I have taught every level there is to teach, 9th grade through 12th grade. And I can say that since I have been out of the classroom for 6 years, I am out of touch with what happens in the classroom. And I would not need to step in today and try to teach an English class because methods have changed. Everything has changed. COVID changed everything. And it most certainly changed what our classrooms look like, and it changed what's needed at the central office as well. Now, I won't argue that teachers don't need more money because they do. They do. And I think that most people would agree with that. But what I will say is that our central office staff, even though it may seem to someone who does not work with them on a daily basis, it may seem like it's top-heavy, but truly it isn't. We have curriculum leaders, curriculum specialists for each subject area. Would that remain with the city school system? Or would I be dependent as an English person on the same person who is helping the dance teacher, if she still had a job, or the science teacher? Because what I liked was that I could call my English chairperson and say, I'm new and I'm stuck and I need your feedback. And every single time she worked with me because she knew the subject matter. And I didn't have to share a cut resource. Can we always improve our budget? 1,000%. 1,000%. However, do we need to start by looking at what we can get rid of when what we are doing is not just working, it is not just good enough. It is excellent. It is excellent. And I say that as someone who is no longer in the classroom. It is excellent. And I don't think that we are looking at a whole picture when you haven't shared the whole picture.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Melissa Brennan. I'm on Easton Circle here in Fairhope. I had no plans on talking at all, and I am one of your transplants here in Fairhope, so you're welcome. Hey, guys. Listen, I just heard a giant red flag, and I can't sit there silently, knowing that the data that we've been looking at, trying to go through, trying to understand, was not actually released to us. And I find that incredibly insulting. As a resident, as a mother, as a respected member, and as a PhD biological oceanographer here in our community. I certainly have the credentials to read that document, to understand those data, to analyze them, and to make an educated decision for myself so that I can understand what side of this decision I need to be on. I came in with an open mind. You've closed it, sir, by telling me that I'm not willing or able to read those data. I find that very, very insulting. And I am sorry to say that out loud in a public forum, but that should not be acceptable to anyone here in the council or to the city. Thank you very much.
You can respond, yes.
Thank you for that, and I do appreciate it. What I would say to that is, first of all, we started this study about 2 years ago when we were having these conversations, and we, like I said, we used the data that we got from John Wilson at the time, and then we shared that with Parka. Parka went to Alabama Department of Education, got some additional data. Anyway, all that being said, we've got about a 25-page report that we put together. We shared that with the city council and the mayor because we were working collaboratively with them, trying to get them on board with the whole concept. Oh, yeah.
Can I interject a little bit? That study was conducted using private funds to help the city leaders understand the information. It was never meant to bring us here. It was only meant to give information to them so that they could decide whether or not further investigation was warranted. We did not release any information. The city posted the 2-page Parka document on their website. We are open to having conversation about that, but that study was never intended to create this. It was intended to inform our city leadership and to help them to understand whether or not this in fact was something that was worth consideration.
And if you realize, we did just get this notification last week that a press release was coming out and that a forum was coming out. So we were ill-prepared for this and for that kind of feedback. So Well, and that's great, but at the same time, you've got Baldwin County Board of Education that has all of your contact information, your email addresses that can blast things out. They have a budget for professional communications, lobbyists, strategists. They've got all that going for them, and that was another reason to keep the study close to the chest, because we didn't need to share with Baldwin County what they may use it or how they might dissect it.
We need to keep moving on.
Okay, so, but I do appreciate your comment, and I understand that, because I'm an educated person as well, and when I couldn't get the information from Baldwin County, it was offensive.
Hi, I'm Haley Harbo. I live at 11439 K Fall Street in Fairhope. I'm a proud teacher of J. Larry Newton, but I also wanted to speak on something that was brought up earlier today. It was talking about how teachers, myself, I teach third grade, spend money out of our own pockets, which can be true, but I wanted to highlight the fact that I've taught in several other systems, including a city school system in the state of Alabama. This year, I was given $1,000 by Baldwin County, as well as every teacher, to spend in my classroom. There are certain rules, but that's a substantial amount of money that will last me all year. My other city school systems, I was giving $200 for the entire year. I've taught in 2 other school systems. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that we are well supported. So when it comes to how much money to spend in my classroom at my leisure, I feel well supported. So that's all I wanted to say.
Floor is still open. If there's a lull, Laura, if you did want to get back up and speak, I would say, as long as we just want to keep the flow going, so if you had another comment you wanted to make, I would allow that, since there's nobody else in line right now.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to address a couple of points that were raised. One, there was a mention of unconstitutionality with debt owed to Baldwin County. And right here, I have the Justia U.S. Law citation for the Code of Alabama. In Baldwin County, when there is a breakaway, this was passed in between the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach breakaway experiences. A law was passed that says that breakaway systems have to pay an amount equal to the value assigned thereto for the purpose of determining the value of the capital assets. So we have a complex debt situation here where there is debt still owed on our buildings, but the debt is less than the capital assets. And so we probably would owe a little bit more than what is stated in the debt as is written in the law here. But more than that, I wanted to talk about the numbers, because the Parka flyer that has been circulated has a footnote on the cost estimate. It's the only cost estimate on the entire flyer, and it's only for direct expenses. And they have a footnote where they say that they got their data from Alabama Achieves data, which hosts the ALSDE, the State Department of Education budgets. And so I pulled those. And when you pull those, you see it has 3 tables: direct expenditures, pooled, and direct and pooled combined. Parka only used direct. So you can see they didn't pull all the cost that is incurred by students in the system now. That's what I was talking about with pooled expenses, because pooled expenses are anything shared by multiple students, which is a lot of stuff, and those pooled costs are currently kept low because of the economy of scale and Baldwin County size. Now, additionally, I took these numbers. You can pull all these tables yourself. They're all on that website. The only one you can't get is 2018 because it's so old that they deleted it. But you can get the other 4, 2019 through 2023, and I took these tables and I averaged all the direct expenses and I ran them through the BLS inflation factor that's linked on footnote 7. And when you do that, you get, I made a spreadsheet that does it for you. When you do that, you get a number of $10,099 in direct expenses per student. That's not even including the pooled. But they ran inflation backwards. Like, if you look at the inflation here, this flyer says that inflation made costs cheaper, which is not how inflation works. So this is, I just read what was on the flyer. It also says on the front here that this is how much money Fairhope can spend per student. That's a number that subtracts the debt service. On the back of the flyer, when they say how much Fairhope can spend, they re-added the debt service, which makes it look like we can spend more than we can. So this is a very deceptive, I mean, maybe not intentionally, I mean, maybe it was an accident, but what's on here is misleading and incomplete. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there.
Good evening.
My name is Katie Charette. I live at 390 Creston Avenue. I came here tonight to watch and learn and all the things like everybody else. And I had no intentions of speaking, but as I was sitting in the overflow room listening, I decided I just wanted to come forward. We talked a lot about all that is offered to the students in Fairhope through Baldwin County Schools. I want to speak from the professional side of it and what I have gained as a professional in this county, in this system. They don't just pour into the students, but they pour into us. The amount of professional development, the colleagues that I'm surrounded by in heaven, that I was afforded this opportunity. And I just wanted to go on record for saying how grateful I am as a professional for the learning that I get as an educator. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a quick follow-up question.
Yes,
if I
ma'am.
can. I heard at the beginning of this meeting that the purpose of this meeting is for the city council to understand kind of where the public stands on this issue, and get our feedback. I think it's pretty clear what the feedback is, and I think it's pretty clear where everyone stands, minus 5 people, really 4 and like a half. So I guess my next question, well, maybe there's 5 or 6, cool. All right, so
All right,
anyway,
well,
sorry, we're not in okay.
Okay, just one.
So I was just wondering, what are the next steps then? From you guys, what else do you need from us as the public, and what other opportunities do we have to continue to have this conversation, this discussion, continue to learn? Because maybe there is a pro that I'm missing. I'm completely open if I actually get to read the data.
So certainly, I would say, I mean, the response tonight is obviously very overwhelmingly obvious to see where the group stands. There is a survey. I think the mayor's going to maybe share some of the current results on the survey maybe at the end of the meeting, unless you want to do that now, Mayor.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, and then beyond that, the next steps, I mean, we do have 2 additional meetings scheduled, and also know that.
Yeah, we'll finish the public participation.
Yeah, I mean, we're public participation is still going. I'm just, I'll come back to that later, but yeah, just to answer the question real quick, 2 more meetings are scheduled, so we'll keep going. Mayor, do you want to share your comments now?
I can do that at the end. Let's continue public participation.
Yes, ma'am. Well, come up to the microphone.
We need your name and address, please.
My name's Gaynor Reynolds, and I live on 7 Audubon.
All right.
My name is Gaynor Reynolds, and I live on 7 Audubon. I have 3 children at the elementary school. We've been very happy. I am interested in all the work that y'all put into this, and I appreciate it. And I know it's been volunteerism, and I know it's for our community. So I just wanted to voice that from me. And my experience has been good. It's been wonderful. Thank y'all for everything that y'all have done. And Cecil, you've gotten back to me a few times. I mean, I appreciate it. I'm here to learn about it and explore it. And, you know, a few things with my children is like, I don't even want to voice them because this is a pretty intimidating room, but, you know, I would like to see a smaller elementary school. And if this is something that could help with that, you know, I'm interested in it. And I just wanted to follow up with thank y'all for putting all this work into it, honestly. And I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that we have a community that cares about our children. And I do have a specific heart for the special needs community, and it's my understanding that that is federally funded, so that will not be touched. So,
Yeah, I think they did say that they're going to have 2 elementary schools, 2 more they're adding at the cost of $45 million. So that's in the books.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
And just one more, I know I have 1 minute and 35 seconds left, but is it my understanding that the city gives $2 million towards the flowers?
That's not accurate, I don't
Okay.
believe. No.
I'm just curious what those numbers are because
Not $2 million.
Okay, I heard that.
Fairhope
And
would not be Fairhope today without the flowers.
I know we have beautiful flowers, and I appreciate them. My father was a master gardener. I love them, but I'm just wondering, that man who spoke about resources, if that just might be considered for like our playgrounds that have ant beds and, no shade and weeds. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Good evening, Coach.
Eddie Tyler, I live at 12225 County Road 1, Fairhope. 11 years as superintendent of Baldwin County, and now unhappily retired because I really don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But I have a wife that's keeping me quite busy. But I've known Vince a long time, came up and spoke. I'm that guy. $315,000. That's me. That's me. I'm the guy. But the thing about it is, that's a board decision. I have Jason here, excellent board member, Cecil. These folks evaluate and determine the worth. And I never went and asked. It was always one of those things. So I'm very proud of what we did as a school system. And, love Vince. Coach is a nephew and his son. So the thing about it is, it's going to cost. If you're going to have an outstanding administrative team, it's going to cost you dollars. You just don't waltz in and start a city school system with a low tier somebody as a superintendent. I mean, you've got to start a school system like this. I was fortunate. I was here in '87, left, went to Eufaula City Schools, so I've been in a city school system, small. Then was blessed to come back here in 2015. But y'all, and I understand their passion, I really do. I understand the passion, and it's real. It's real. I mean, I don't discount that. And I understand the people on the other side. But, I think at the end of the day, I guess I would have to go one of those things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm sure it can always get better. Hopefully we're on the cusp of an A as a county school system, the third largest in the state of Alabama, to acquire an A. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But these teachers and administrators and you as parents have been working awful hard to support the Fairhope schools and Baldwin County schools. Now, I've known Chris for a long time, a great warrior for education. There's times that we have disagreed. Yes, we've disagreed. But that's what a superintendent does. It's not always roses, and he's a politician, and he's got to state his case. But when you start talking about the payback, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of helped orchestrate that payback of what it would cost. So, before, when Gulf Shore split, they got in under the radar. Didn't cost them a whole lot of money. But, now the money that a school system puts in, there's got to be some buyback and some payback. And of course, Orange Beach, they call it a divorce settlement. I think it was close to $40 million. That they have $46 million. So I just want to come up and identify, put a face to a dollar figure. That's me. But I appreciate that.
Thank you, Coach. Good evening.
I'm Ann Dorman. I live at 724 South Mobile Street, and I appreciate you. And I see so many familiar faces that have impacted all three of my daughters, and so many friends. Hey, Sarah and Casey and Allison and Amanda, and amazing educators. And they're 110% of why I'm here. My girls will survive one way or the other. We messed that up in the first 5 years of their life, or we didn't. And I've loved everybody pouring into them, but it's our educators all day long is why I'm here, to learn and to listen. So I disagree that the decision is made, and I strongly disagree that these 4 people are carrying the weight of this study and exploring this. They are speaking for dozens of parents who love our educators and would love for salaries and rewards and classrooms and support to show how much we love you, our educators. So I love my daughters. They'll be fine. I'm here for the teachers, 110%. So are these who have graduated? Their kids are gone. Why? That's my question. 2 minutes. Why do this to yourselves? Why drag yourselves through this? I know you love these educators, and they are why you're here. Will you share with us why you're doing this?
I think that passion for education has been a part of the fabric of our being for many years. I've lived in other communities. I've been very involved, from the PTA to the school board to FIF to the Education Commission. Education is my passion personally because I was that kid. I was that kid who was not supported at home and was not seen and was not safe. And school was my safe space. And my teachers were the people who saw me, who encouraged me, and who helped me to grow into what I consider to be a productive member of a community that I love. My kids are graduates of Fairhope High School. They did great in Fairhope High School. I have no complaints about the education they received. I am just constantly striving and looking for ways and exploring possibilities for how a community, how the teachers, how families can grow and support, and sometimes that means looking at things from a different perspective. I am not at all, and I feel similarly about my counterparts here. I am not at all trying to say that something is horrible, and I'm not at all trying to say that that accepting things as they are is a bad thing, but I do think that periodically you just need to stop and pause and explore what other options might be available. We have seen, not just in our neighbors to the south, but we can see that there are lots of independent school systems that are thriving. And all of these challenges that have been brought up, those are challenges that they were able to overcome because they came together collectively to try and find a solution. Every problem, every obstacle I've heard here tonight has a solution if everybody is collaborative and has conversation about it. I don't think that the question is whether or not we love our schools or love our teachers. That's not the question at all. It's we maybe love them a little bit differently. And I encourage conversation and I encourage questions. Outside of a situation like this, we are your neighbors. There are lots of us out there. They're quiet because this is scary, and I'm not going to lie. I had a good cry before I came here because I knew that my passion and my belief and my friends' passion and belief and desire to be forward-thinking and explore different ideas and solutions was a responsibility that we had. That commission study that we did came from conversations about trying to figure out a way to continue to pour into our community. We did not hold back information. We just gave it to the people who we thought needed it and asked them to consider it and review it. There is no desire. I was the J. Larry Newton kid. I literally grew up on the wrong side of the tracks.
Hold up.
What? No, I'm just saying there were railroad tracks that separated me from.
Made it too close to.
Oh, hold up. Everybody let Carrie finish. Hey, everybody calm down and let Carrie finish her thoughts on that.
I grew up in a suburb in Chicago where the wealthy people who could afford private school did that, and I was part of the community that did not have the funds. I did not mean that in any kind of a derogatory way. I'm simply stating that I was the kid who needed the extra, and that my schooling and my teachers and my experience are what has fueled my desire to try and find and continue to pour and look at opportunities and options for our students, because this is what all of this is about. And I apologize if I said something out of turn. I apologize. I apologize. My experiences and that is not what I was saying. That was not what I was saying. I was saying that I was one of the kids who was constantly being, I'm not even going to go there. I know my heart and I know my intentions, and I might have said something that came off wrong, but that is not how I intended it, and I apologize.
If I can segue for a minute, I appreciate Ann Dorman calling us out and attempting to humanize us a little bit, because it is important that you know that we do adore our teachers, and we feel like we have a very, very good school system. I had a child that graduated a couple years ago from here. She was on the tennis team. She's in college now, doing great, very happy with it. At the same time, we look for opportunities to be better. And when I see the city schools throughout the state, throughout the country perform better, I'm looking at opportunities for us, and for us to be able to make those decisions locally, that we wouldn't get that support from the county. We'll be tethered to the county, for better or for worse. I feel like we could do better on our own. That's where we're coming from. But I'm Carlton Spinks. I've been here for about 18 years. I have a recruiting firm with my wife, and there's not any financial gain here. There's not any power gain here. This is, again, we have shared ideas where personality types, and the fact that we want to improve things, we want to get better. We see this as an opportunity and angle to do that. We put ourselves up as the faces and the names to try to move the needle. So that's what we're here doing. We've had this education with the council. We're sharing what we can with you and trying to answer your questions as best we can, and we'll continue to do so. But just wanted to share that. So thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, floor is still open.
I had a question. So y'all said something about experimenting and. Sorry, I had a question because y'all said experimenting the opportunities and stuff like that along the road. So 5 years from now, say it passes. 5 years from now, y'all are still experimenting, like getting it up and going. I have a little brother who will be going through the high school. So in that experimenting, what's going to happen to those kids who have to go through the experimental process of the school, like developing and going through all these changes? Because from a big sister perspective, it's kind of difficult for a student and a big sister to know she'll be gone while he's going through all of these changes and might not have the opportunities that I was given. That's all. Thank you.
It's a great question from a big sister. If I just have a second to answer. I don't remember any of us using the word experimenting. I think that might have come from the other table. We're certainly not, we don't have a textbook example of like, here we're handing you exactly what it's going to look like or be, and you're going to have this class and that class. We know from our research and from what we've learned from lots of other city systems and leaders, what could be here, what is likely to be here, what we can do. And then the community decides what is best for our schools. So there's not any experimentation. It's not a risky scheme. We're basing this on the inspiration and proven results of other systems. But there's no sense of experimenting.
Could I have a follow-up question as well?
We need to move on to the next person. I'm sorry. Thank you, though.
Hi, I'm Candy Pilgrim. I live at 11789 Hans Drive. I'm out of the city. So it would question what would happen to my child. My child is that 45%. Now, my child is at the high school this year. Go Buccaneers band. I am a substitute teacher. I'm mostly substitute at Newton. Yay, Newton. Not only my child, she's a freshman. By the time this would go through, it may not affect her, but all of those children would be affected. I hear over and over, community, community. Our community is this community. In our name, it says hope. That is not how we're tearing ourselves apart. It was mentioned no divorce. This isn't a divorce. Well, there is no guarantee right now for that 45%. There is nothing right now. Maybe we're grandfathered in, maybe we're not. Maybe there's a fee you'll pay, maybe there's not. There needs to be a lot more assurance before any of these people would be for it. There's too much at stake for 45% of our children, even if you get outside of the budget. This is not community. Thank you.
My name is Matt Hufty. I live at 22440 Seacliff. I have a question for you guys. Two questions, actually. Two questions for the committee. Why haven't you released your report, and will you commit to releasing your report before the next meeting?
Yeah, like I said, the reason before why we didn't release it is because it wasn't a publicly funded thing. The city has a responsibility to share information using city money to do that. We had an obligation to our donors to share it with them. When Sherry asked for the report, I said, we'll be happy to share with you our two-page summary, but there's a lot of detail in it that we feel more comfortable talking someone through it. I would even, if you're truly interested, I would have our researcher come down and we could set up a day that we can have the Civic Center open and we'll go through that line by line. Why not release it? Well, we can, but like I said, historically.
Excuse me. Sorry. The purpose here is not to attack these people. These are our neighbors. They're our friends. Like, it's okay to have different opinions and to allow them to share. I have my opinion, but I do appreciate the four of them coming up here and sitting and taking all this heat that they really don't deserve. All they're doing is trying to present what they think is a good idea or solution. They love the community. They love education. They love the kids. Both sides only interested in doing what they feel is best for the children. And everybody's got a different opinion on that, but let's give them the respect for at least being willing to sit up here. Because one of my concerns is now I feel like I can't just, now I get a pretty good feel from looking at the crowd and from hearing the responses where people stand, but also know that not very many people that would align with this are going to put themselves out here and come and speak. So we also got to look at the survey results, which the mayor's going to get to, and I'm sure we'll hear from other people, but just keep in mind that they're neighbors, they're community members, they're friends. Just take it easy on them, I would say. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, one more thing. Jimmy, I do appreciate that, but I will tell you, I'll commit to talking to our committee. If everybody's fine with it, we'll post it on our fairhopecityschools.com site. So look out for that. If we're good, we can put it up on there. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, good evening. Excuse me, allergy season. My name is Debbie Haley. I live at 6583 Willow Bridge Drive. And like most of you guys and people out here, all three of my children graduated and grew up in the Fairhope school system. We moved here 31 years ago this month from Birmingham. The two older ones had started out at one of what they consider the elite schools of Birmingham. We were a little hesitant coming to a smaller town. My husband's job relocated us here. I cannot tell you how impressed, above and beyond our expectations. All three graduated, all three were successful thanks to the foundation of the Fairhope school system. But the reason I'm here I hear the word educators. We're going to take care of our educators. Many of these people out here were educators, administration, office staff, all the things. And they invested in my children's lives, which I am so grateful, and you know who you all are. But my concern is, y'all keep saying we care about the educators, we care about the educators, we're going to take care of the educators. One of my children, she is an educator at Fairhope East. Now, she also had the opportunity to teach at one of those elite schools in Birmingham. But after a year, she chose to come back here. She also taught 18 years at Rockwell Elementary. And this year, she was graciously offered a position at Fairhope East. And she took it. Why? Because she loves Fairhope, and she wants to give back to Fairhope, as well as her little daughter started kindergarten there. So I posed this question to both sides. What will happen to the educators? What will happen if the school units shrink? Where will they go? Will they still have jobs?
Maybe each of y'all would take a minute to respond to that, each side.
Well, first off, we'd have to end up having a separation agreement drafted, and whoever's not included in that agreement in the new city school systems would have to be doled out through the county. They might not have a choice where they go.
Okay.
So that would be the first wrinkle. And then also you think about the students. Students that aren't included in the city system, the only way that they'd get to go is if there was some sort of waiver or they were allowed to go as out-of-district students.
Okay. Yeah, what about?
Non-tenured, unless the county would probably have to still keep the non-tenured teachers, but they wouldn't have a choice where they're going. That wouldn't necessarily be an issue. It's still just a teacher would end up having to have a seat. Yes, sir.
At Fairhope High School alone, I have 65 teachers that live in Fairhope. And of those 65, many may get to stay, many may have to go. So when you're talking about this teacher will have a job, first of all, that's insulting to an educator because they pour their souls into their jobs and into their schools. And I was told that the other day, well, they'll have a job. This is not just a job. Somebody's passion or somebody's hobby, this is my livelihood and this is my life. So for us to say that we'll dole them out other places is insulting to the profession, and quite frankly, it's insulting to every teacher in this room. But that is the reality. That's the reality of what would have to happen.
And I do want to make something abundantly clear. Earlier, you were misinformed that this would not be a divorce. It absolutely would be. It would involve children, it would involve property, and it would involve money, and it would come down to a divorce agreement.
And you see, I grew up in Birmingham, and I saw that happen in Birmingham.
Well, and I've handled 5 of them, and I wrote the agreements, so I know what they look like.
We have a good bit of additional information on that because we've certainly researched every single question that's come up tonight. They're all very important. I don't know if this is the right venue to have to go over some of our notes and things. I'd be happy to share it with you later or post it to our website or our Facebook page. But we've got a wealth of information on that, and it's not necessarily perhaps what you're hearing from over there either, but it's based on state law. So anyway, we can talk further.
I am a former employee of Baldwin County School System.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Matt Golisano. I live here in Fairhope. And listening to this whole dissertation here, I would tell you that what you're looking at doing is buying a very complicated, expensive business that you have to run like a business. And instead of going out and taking whatever money you think is laying there or whatever it is and putting it in here and putting it in there and then try to reinvent the wheel, my suggestion here is these people and these people want the same thing. They want to improve the situation in the schools. They want to make it better for the students. They want better grades. They want to make people be better citizens, whatever it is. And I think that maybe instead of going off, because what's going to happen here, it's going to take you 2 years, a lot of failures, and a lot more money than you think. Things always cost more than you think they're going to cost, and they always take longer than you think they're going to take. It's a fact of life. Instead of doing that, why don't you try something, let's say, over the next 2 years? Take what it is that you've got in the way of ideas and put them there and get a committee together, meet with these people, sit down with them, and try to work this thing out. They want the same thing you want. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? Why go off and just try to buy the world over here, 5 schools or whatever that's going to cost. It's going to cost more than you think. But I think that if you just sit down and talk to these people, you have information, somebody developed a plan for you, put it out there and make it work, but work through the system, because I think it'll save you time, it'll save you money, and you'll get exactly what you want. You might have to make some concessions, but it's going to be a lot easier than you think, because I work in the school system. I'm a bus driver. I've been a school bus driver for 17 years. And I want to tell you something. What I observe outside the bricks and inside the bricks, it's a very fluid, dynamic, it's constant things going on, problems, bumps along the road, things that you would never even expect, even though you might be in the PTO or whatever it is that you do, serve donuts, give kids candy at Halloween. That isn't running a school system. They know what it is to run a school system. Work with them. I think that you're going to be far better off. You're going to get things done a lot faster, and it's not going to cost anywhere near the amount of money that you think that you're going to have to spend to make this happen the way you want it to work. That's just an idea.
So just to address that briefly, it's not a bad idea. It really isn't. I don't know if you're all familiar with kind of the equity model that Baldwin County has. And they have a difficulty in providing something for one school if they can't provide it for all schools. And we've had situations where we were denied a performing arts center because we can't do it for everybody. So that's when FIF stepped up and tried to do a performing arts center. There was a snag in that, so it resulted in the Black Box Theater. We had another potential donor that had an airplane that they wanted to donate to Gulf Shores so that we could have a flight program. Excuse me. Oh.
You said Gulf Shores.
Excuse me. Wanted to donate it to Gulf Shores. To Fairhope. Was told that we can't do it for all schools, so you can't do it for Fairhope, and so he donated it over to Gulf Shores, and now they have a flight program as well as engineering, flight engineering. So there's things like that again, if we had that local ability and we saw priority in the community, those are the decisions that we can do. But with limited resources at the county, if they can't do it for everybody, they tend to not do it for anyone.
Hey, yes, sir. Floor is open.
Well, I'm another Russell Wiles, and I live in Silver Hill, and that's my grandson. I got a granddaughter, too. She's pretty special, too. I guess I want to make 3 points. One's question. Does the law require, if a city school is formed, that it must follow the city limits?
Yes.
Okay. So the second point I'll make is I worked for a large corporation, and I moved, my wife would correct me, but I think we moved 21 times in my career. I ended up a pretty high executive in our company. But guess where I said I needed to go, my son to go to high school? And I gave up my job to move to Fairhope. Now, my point would be there are a lot of people out there that have made a decision to move to this area because they want their children to go to the Fairhope feeder system. If this changes, you have thousands of people out here that are impacted financially, and their assets are impacted, their a whole bunch of mess that's created. The politics will get hard. I would say to Baldwin County, you better give every damn dollar you can out of this but that's a different subject. My point is, we started moving, we picked where we wanted to move based on the school system, and then we looked at the houses. So the third point is, there's 3 of these meetings that you've scheduled, which is great. I was responsible for having to make politically influence elected officials about a subject by making sure there was large attendance at meetings in favor of the view that I was responsible for promoting, which I thought was right. So to do that, you got to show up. So my question is, do I need to show up 3 times? Because no, I do not support this because of several reasons. But there's 3 meetings. We don't need to have, okay, the second meeting, hardly anybody shows, third meeting, nobody shows, and it's dominant the other way. I think it's important you have the message clearly 3 times if we're going to have 3 meetings. I don't know how to do that, but think about it, whoever's here.
Thank you. All right, we're going to be winding down in a few minutes, so if we can get whoever's still interested, if y'all go ahead and kind of get in line, that'd be great.
Good evening.
Thank you.
My name is Chelsea Hughes. I'm at 709 Fairhope Avenue. I am without children. However, I employ many downtown, and due to hairdresser confidentiality agreements, I will not name the teachers, the parents, or the administrators in our current school system who have divulged many an opinion about this current topic. However, the gentleman who spoke before me, who was encouraging us to bridge the gap, gave me the courage to come up here because that's where I see the greatest opportunity. If FEEF can do it, why can another group not do what you aim to do in improving what we have going on? The infrastructure is good. And while we have seen teacher after teacher show up tonight and say, we love our schools, we feel supported, in my chair, they're also lacking support, funds, ability to give raises to their employees when they need to so that they don't lose them, which they do. This is happening. But that does not mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater to fix it. And as a business owner who has at times felt like a victim in Fairhope, I can assure you that the reality is whatever we're looking for is what we're going to find. There is support where we need it, but we have to stop being so divisive that we can't find the support, and we have to be able to look to the leadership and say, it's too hard to make a change in my backyard. Please help me change that. We want to see things get better, and I don't want to see the whole vehicle run into the ditch in order to make it better for the students, the teachers. And I'm also curious, because I do not know the answer to this, but if part of the problem here is that we need to reduce debts and make sure that funds are allocated correctly because our wonderful community is growing, is there any room to increase impact fees so that if we're building new homes and we're taxing the system, that the piece of the equation that is taxing it is also paying for new schools and the ability to support the structure we have. So I really hate speaking in public, but thank you for having me. I was literally laying in my bed watching this, and then the feed cut out, so I drove down here. Because Emily Kane was texting me that, she was sitting in the overflow room and we needed to get down here. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, what you're trying to achieve. And I appreciate what you all have been doing. And we have plenty of proof that we have enough smart people in the building to make this bridge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Vicki. How are you doing today?
Vicki Bailey, and I live at 6525 Willowbridge Drive. And I'm up here to, number one, tell you I admire you for your compassion for what you're doing. This group has put a lot of time in everything. They have spoken to people who have written case law in education. And I would also like to tell you I admire and appreciate what you have done and are continuing to do. As a principal years ago, I asked the mayor, I asked Mayor Sullivan too, because she was working with Mayor Nix and Tim Kent at the time. If I couldn't get it from y'all, guess what? I was going to call the city, and guess what? They took care of it. They certainly took care of most everything locally that I needed. Therein lies one of the concerns. I feel, though, personally, that I want everyone to learn from this entire process. I want to see dialogue going on between both entities, and I believe that if we can learn, yes, we need smaller schools. I feel that when we had the K-1 Center where I was principal and founded FIF in order to build the Pelican's Nest with a lot of people in this room, and Laura was a student, she's left now, Laura Smith was a student at the school at the time, but I know that it takes local people and it takes additional funding. I would like to see you all, the Board of Ed, because I know I can pick up the phone, like someone else said, and call Cecil, and he always answers, but I would like to see some dialogue going on. I would like to see it from both groups and the city. I also would like to see the complete study here and here for all of the people to be able to look at it, be informed, and make a good decision before if it comes to a vote ever, and before you all vote. And I admire the city council because that's what you're doing. You're giving the people a vote. You're giving the people knowledge. You're making them more knowledgeable through these town meetings. And I just hope that if we work together, that some good can come out of this. I understand that Mr. McCrae has just jumped right in from the frying pan into the fire, but you are doing an excellent job. You know that there are things with the board that you're working on to smooth and to get better communication, and that's very important, and that's something that you would have in a local community that you don't have now. Your needs better met. However, when you have a board member like Cecil on your side, he's going to fight for you, but he's won, okay? That's a concern I have. And I think that basically that if we can have some dialogue to make everything better for both, we can come and meet in the middle and have a greater school system that I believe that we're capable of. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Council, I think we might let this gentleman be the last one and then close the floor. But you've been waiting patiently, so.
Yes, sir.
Oh, do I have one more?
You got one more.
Okay, I'm not going to cut you off. I'm sorry. You're not last.
My name is Daniel Galbraith. I live at 11248 Rosa Court. That is outside the city limits. I want y'all to know Amy Thompson is a friend of mine, and I love her, and everything that she does comes from a good place in her heart. So we disagree here, but that doesn't mean I don't love her, okay? She's made in the image of God. We all are. We got to treat each other with respect. We can disagree, but we're all here for the kids, okay? I'm sick, and I don't want to be up here, and my body's telling me not to be up here, but I am. Growing up, I went to 4 different school systems. It was my goal when I moved here, and I knew one person in this whole county, was to find a place to send my kids when they were born to go to kindergarten through 12th grade and never move. I've lived here for 19 years. I lived in Orange Beach the first year. I lived in Gulf Shores the next 2 years. I lived in Daphne the next year. Then I lived in Spanish Fort for 2 years. And then I moved here 13 years ago. And I'll never move unless some of this type stuff happens, because it will destroy this community, period. I've lived here for 13 years. I've lived inside the city limits. I've lived outside the city limits. I've owned, I've rented. I've lived in Fruit and Nut. I've lived in tract homes. I've been all over the place in this community. And this community is everywhere from Fairhope Falls to Fisherman's Discount to Saraceno's to the Fairhope Juice Company to the Grand Hotel to, Ray's Kitchen, whatever you want to call it. They are all part of this community. During my 16 years here working in Fairhope, I have put in 21 years of nonprofit board volunteer service. I was on the United Way board for 6 years. That is the best place to find out about this entire county. You learn a lot about every municipality, and we are a blessed municipality, and we need to act like it. I was on the South Alabama Land Trust. I was in here getting yelled at about the conservation easement on the Dias Triangle, which then turned into the, Flying Creek Nature Preserve. Okay, I was here for that. I'm running out of time, sorry. I was on the Fairhope Point Clear Rotary Youth Club board for 9 years. I was on that board before I had a kid because I love these kids, okay? And those kids need help. You know, we are only as good as the least of the kid. And I know that you didn't mean anything by what you said earlier, ma'am. I really know. I know it came out wrong. You didn't mean anything wrong. There are people that need more help. Sometimes people think those are Newton kids. My kids are Newton kids. That's not right. Newton's the best damn elementary school in this county, period. And Amy helped me at the youth club. Amy's done a lot for this community, and we need to thank her. In Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, only 640 students were out of the city limits. Only 640 combined. In Fairhope, there are 2,200 plus students outside of the city limits. I'm sorry, I'm sick. If you'll let me finish, give me like 15 seconds. I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
This will 100% fundamentally change families outside the city limits. To think anything different is incorrect. Grandfather in somebody for a certain period, all that means is that you're good enough for this many years. That's all it's saying. It will lower the property values. Somebody that bought a $400,000 home when they're part of the Fairhope school system, and then they're not anymore, and it drops their value to $360, they try to sell their house, they got a short sale or foreclose, it's going to change families. Tuition expenses that people already can't afford. I'm not counting on the CHOOSE Act. I've read 2 articles in the past couple of days that said we can't depend on it. And it's going to mentally affect every single kid. And that's 2 of my boys, and I'm not for it. That's it.
All right. Daniel, I don't really know you, but I just want to let you know I am praying for you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, my name is Rachel Robinson. I'm at 9870 Nix Lane. The name Nix probably means something to a lot of y'all. The late Mr. Barry Nix was my neighbor. Taught in the Fairhope schools a long time, drove the school bus, I believe coached as well. Taught both of my parents who graduated from Fairhope. All of my kids will graduate from Fairhope. One already has, 2 are in high school. Almost every woman in my family at some point has worked for Baldwin County schools, whether they are, we've had a principal, a media specialist, teachers, cafeteria workers, secretaries, and despite all that, I'm one of the only ones in my family that was not put through Baldwin County schools or Fairhope schools simply based on where my dad worked for my school age years. That said, I got back here just as quickly as I could. Had a small gap between being born at Thomas Hospital and my children being born. So I've been extraordinarily happy with the Baldwin County schools. I have one graduate who is a volunteer firefighter. I have one high school student with special needs, receives a lot of the resources we talked about today. I have another student who is in advanced and honors classes. So I've experienced kind of the gamut of what the schools have to offer. In that time, believe it or not, I've never been met with one complaint. My children have been served so very well. That said, I do live outside of the city limits by choice. Very happy to be there. I get to let my dogs run around and have land and come and shop in Fairhope and send my kids to school here. I've always been happy to support the schools in any way I can beyond just my property tax because I have the means to do so. I recognize that a lot of our kids, a lot of our families, not only in Fairhope but in other parts of the county do not. They live very differently than most of us in this room. I can't see a scenario, number one, that I'm ever going to be for Fairhope being separate. Fairhope is part of what makes our county so great. I don't believe that the children in Loxley or Bay Minette or anywhere that is not as resourced as Fairhope deserve any less of an education than our students here get because we can simply afford to live here. There are resources that just abound in this community. FEEF is an excellent resource and augments what our kids need above and beyond. That said, as another gentleman mentioned, we live in the state of Alabama. We're in the bottom of schools in the country. And I think our time and resources can be spent and our energy can be spent so much better than trying to take the best city out of the best county. We have a whole state we need to lobby. I don't get to speak to you guys very often. I don't get to vote in elections because I'm not in the city. So I do hope, really hope sincerely that you will take into consideration the bulk of us, not only inside but outside the city limits, and how much we care for this community too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and close the floor for public participation. Senator Elliott, I know you've been sitting here patiently. Did you have anything you would like to say while you're here before I turn it over to the mayor and the council?
Thanks, Councilman Conyers. I'll be brief. I get to represent all of y'all, inside, outside, et cetera, and I get to take hundreds of votes a year on your behalf. I'm glad this isn't one of them, because this is a tough one, and it's yours to decide, not decide one way or the other. But guys, this is such a good problem, if you look at it like that, to have. Y'all are talking about the difference between unquestionably great and something beyond that. This is a really lucky position to be in. And I've heard terms like well-resourced, and I look around the state and I look at my colleagues around the state and even around the county. These are good conversations to have, and council and mayor, y'all are doing this right. By taking time to stop and breathe and listen to both sides, you're absolutely doing this right. It is not easy. It is not easy for either camp here to make their case, but you are doing it right. I want to say that there are a number of different state laws, the Constitution itself. There are lawyers that will be on either side of this. But I am available if you have questions. I've talked to many of you already, and that is true to those members in the audience and those that are at home. Nash, we've done this before, haven't we? And it's not easy, and it is complicated. And Nash, I'll agree with you, it's a divorce. And some of the things that we've done legislatively have been to try to bring some clarity to the numbers. And when we talk about studies, I'll say this. In the legislature, we have what's called a legislative fiscal note. It is an approximation. It is almost never right. And I think that what you will see with these studies will be the same. You won't know the answer until you've done it. And so what I want to do is make myself available, our staff available, to give you as much data as you can have to make an informed decisions. Because as policymakers, that's what we need. All of the data, and then you take that and crunch it. You better talk to your constituents, because that matters. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure you have every last bit of data that you need. And so if that's resources from the State Department of Education and their calculations, if that's resources from the Legislative Services Agency, the Legislative Fiscal Office, I'm happy to provide that to y'all or any of you so that y'all can help make the best decision that you can.
Thank you, Senator, for being here tonight and spending your time with us.
Absolutely. Good luck.
We appreciate you. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak, Mr. Chairman? May I speak?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, Cecil.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In 2014, I was elected to serve on this school board to represent these people. There were 4,500 students in our district at that time. I guess there's over 5,000 now. That's growth for you. I'm glad tonight that Jason Warner from Alberta on our board is over there with his lovely wife, and April Bradley's in the back, or was in the back. Yeah, she's still there. April from Spanish Fort. I'm glad you're here. Appreciate that. We're going through a transition. We're going through a very smooth transition in superintendents from the very best superintendent of education that I've ever known in my life, Eddie Tyler, to the next best. I don't mean that. I don't mean to say the next best. I'm saying the next one is going to be. You got big shoes to fill, and I think he's going to do it. It's been my honor and my privilege to serve you on this board. I'm just glad the three people that I called back over my tenure were here tonight. I appreciate that very much. You know, my concern is, I appreciate the gentleman that moved here from Texas speaking for the senior citizens. Taxes don't bother me as much as children outside our city limits. And Brother Burrell said something about there's a plethora. He didn't use plethora. He said there's a lot of ways to make that happen. I ain't heard one that I understand. My concern, when I leave in 3 months, and Fred Hardman is back there, he'll be sworn in. Hey, he'll be sworn in November so he can be sworn at for the next 6 years.
my fear is at the end of my term in November, my love, compassion for all of our children, it don't go away. It's just getting, the older I get, the more intense it gets. So I appreciate the opportunity to have served you. I know the right decision will be made. I pray for Marty every day. We're going to be all right. And I thank each and every one of you on both sides, because we're Fairhope, we're Baldwin County, we're strong, and I'm proud. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Sullivan, you got any comments or want to review the study at all?
I do. I'd be happy to share the survey results.
Okay, thank you.
We have made a commitment to share these at every public meeting that we're having. As of today, we have 1,100 responders on our survey. 676 of those are in the city limits, 590 are outside. 54% of those have kids in our system, students currently in our system. 81% strongly oppose the idea of a city school system, 11% support. 75% are satisfied with the Baldwin County Board of Education, 3% are dissatisfied, and the other ones are undecided. 80% would oppose a tax increase, and 12% would support it. I will tell you, of the 1,100, 54% of those folks currently, like I said, they have kids in the system, and the others do not. But good information here. We did drill down a little bit on inside the city limits, outside the city limits. The ratio is about the same if you drill down on that. So a lot of good information. If you haven't filled out the survey, I would encourage you to do that. You can find that on the city's website, Facebook page, or there's a QR code in the lobby that you can scan. I did want to just make my comments now, if that's okay, Councilman Conyers?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Please.
you. I want to thank everybody again for coming tonight. Marty, I'm sorry about the timing of this, because I think you're going to be a great superintendent too, and this is not reflective, obviously, of who you are and what you're going to do in the Baldwin County Board of Education. So thank y'all for being here tonight. Somebody said, what are we doing here? We're having a conversation. We are elected to do just that. We are elected to make hard decisions, to listen to our constituents, to listen to the people that we serve, and that's what we're doing here tonight. We're not here to make a decision tonight. I don't expect there will be any vote at the end of these 3 meetings. That will be up to the city council, but we are here simply to listen. There's been some things that have been asked tonight, some things that we're going to update the frequently asked questions on the website, so some of this will be included there. But things like, what about impact fees? We can't put an impact fee that would, right now we charge the maximum we can for impact fees. That funds our public safety, it funds roads, parks, but we cannot do that. The county can do that and put that towards the schools, but we cannot. Those kind of questions are the questions that I will update with the frequently asked questions. Also talked about, do we share data with the Board of Education? We absolutely do. Our planning department does. The Eastern Shore MPO shares data not only from Fairhope, but from Loxley, Daphne, Spanish Fort, from the county on subdivisions and on growth. They provide that documentation to the Board of Education, so that is shared. There's a lot of collaboration between our municipalities, between the county, between the school board. One thing that is obvious tonight is that we have a community who is passionate about education, and that's never a bad thing, because it is about the kids, it is about the students, it's about the teachers, it's about the administrators, it's about our community, because we know that our community is only as good as our education system, as our health care, as our leaders. And again, thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate the dialogue, we appreciate the conversation, and we will continue this over the next 2 meetings. Thank you.
Councilman, yeah. Thank you. Councilman Burrell? No comment. Councilman Gammon?
Good evening. Thank you all for hanging out with us. It's a very complicated issue, and I can't say that my mind is made up any more one way or another, but definitely the feedback is important, and the data is important to me. So I thank you to those that have reached out independently and sent me data and met with me one-on-one, and all that comes into account. The one thing that I continue to think about is it's not one simple question, it's multiple, right? And it's hard because as the city council, we'd really be answering maybe one initially, but then that could impact multiple down the road. But what's constant in the back of my head, and it's mentioned many times here, is growth. And we have, as I like to say many times, already approved through previous council actions up to 15,000 additional residents in the city of Fairhope. It's a lot more families. It's a lot more students. There's the need for a lot more schools. So I think that has to also factor into any decision that we consider making is, okay, what is that long-term implication? Because it's not the Fairhope of 5 and 10 years from now, as we know, will not be the Fairhope that it is today. And so we've got to think about that complexity. But thank you all for being here, and I appreciate the dialogue.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Robinson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, I just want to recognize how many incredibly impressive speakers we've had come up and speak tonight on both sides of the issue. Daniel, thank you, buddy. Love you, man. Praying for you for sure. But the students that spoke, both high school and our younger student, I mean, if that's not evidence of what a great job you guys are doing as educators, there's nothing else I can show you. I would like to address the young lady that mentioned all of the wonderful things we can do at the high school, and you mentioned cooking a home-cooked meal. John, I would like to point out that my son is a senior and cannot boil water, so I would appreciate some help on that front. But I know this makes me sound crazy, but I love that we can have a meeting like this. I've sat here in this chair for 10 years now, and I've been in a lot of heated meetings for a lot of different reasons. And the one thing it shows me is, A, that I'm crazy for doing this, but B, it's that we have such a passionate community about all manner of issues, and that only helps us get better. And so the four people that are sitting here at this table tonight that have kind of taken the heat, they're not the only four people behind this. And there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of people that shared that same position over the last 20 years that I've been here. And the funny thing is that some of those people that supported it 20 years ago are now sitting over here saying we don't want it anymore. And that's because facts change, information changes. And we have to be able to understand that and make decisions accordingly. But the reality of the situation that we're dealing with is that if there was ever a decision to break away, almost all of the questions that you've asked tonight, the answer is, we don't know. Who goes where? That decision will have to be made by a group of people down the road. Will there be enough money? We don't know. Okay, I mean, and those are serious questions, serious risks that you have to consider. Where will the teachers go? Who gets what? I mean, there's just so many unknowns right now, so many uncertain things that are incredibly important, not to just the school, but the kids, the teachers, the community. That's the purpose of trying to figure all this out. And it's incredibly difficult, but it's incredibly important that we make sure we get it right. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing all your input. It's absolutely valuable to us in making the right decision. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.
Councilwoman Booth.
Yes, I'm going to be short and sweet because I'm sure you guys are like me right now and you're ready to go. I want to say, Amy, you know I love you. And I used to babysit your son when you were always on the get-go, and I love that. And Amy would trust me, drop her son off for me to cut his hair, and she'd be gone. And I'd go, where's Amy? But I had so much fun with Major, and you know I love you. And my heart is with you guys, because I know this has not been an easy meeting for you guys, and you felt like you weren't loved, and we are listening to you. I also want to say, Cecil, you will be very missed, and I love you. And I love Fairhope, and I love all of you. And I heard your hearts, and I wasn't expecting to get emotional, but these young ladies, I got emotional. And when you're sitting up here, you don't want anybody to see you, and you're trying to be sneaky. But I felt so much love in this room tonight, and we are going to listen, we're going to be open, and we're going to try to do the best that we can do for everybody because we love our town so much, and I know that's what we have in common. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go.
Thank you. Just wrapping up, I just thank you all for being out here. You're showing how much this community means to you. Thank you to the four of y'all for sitting up here and for fighting for something that you believe in and that you think is important. To the Board of Education, I'll echo what the mayor said. Marty, I am so sorry you stepped into this right after getting your promotion. We're proud of you. We appreciate you. John Cardwell, best high school principal in the state of Alabama. I'm sorry that this is how we're starting off your school year. This was not intentional, but folks, these are conversations that are important to have. We're here, elected officials, email us, call us, come to the meetings, answer the survey. We'll get to the point where the community gets to the right answer, and just ask that y'all continue to be kind to one another and be respectful of each other's opinions. But thank you for being here. Have a good night.